Imagine a place, right, where the ground itself holds just incredible natural wealth. Ancient traditions are thriving in these dense forests, but at the same time, it's facing some really big modern challenges.
Yeah, it's a land of stark contrasts, really. A kind of hidden gem that tells us a lot about development and identity today.
And that's where we're heading for our deep dive, India's land of forests, the state of Jharkhand.
Exactly. And our mission here is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack Jharkhand's unique identity for you. We'll get into its tribal heartland, its rich history, those surprising economic paradoxes, and the struggles it faces now.
The idea is to give you a really solid understanding, the key insights, without getting totally lost in the weeds.
Precisely. Quick, comprehensive, and hopefully really fascinating.
Okay, so let's start unpacking. Geographically, where are we talking about?
We're in eastern India. Jharkhand is sort of landlocked, bordered by Bihar to the north, West Bengal to the east, Odisha south, Chhattisgarh west, and even a little bit of Uttar Pradesh in the northwest.
So it's pretty strategically located in that region.
Definitely. And the name itself gives you a huge clue right away.
Jharkhand.
Yeah, it literally means land of forests. Char is forest, Khand is region or land. It immediately paints this picture of its landscape.
It really does. And thinking bigger picture, its actual formation as a state is pretty recent, but deeply significant.
Very recent. It was carved out of southern Bihar back in 2000. November 15th, 2000, to be exact, became India's 28th state.
And this wasn't just like redrawing lines on a map, was it?
Oh, not at all. It was the result of a long, long struggle, a really powerful push for a separate identity, especially driven by its tribal communities who felt marginalized within Bihar.
Right, that tribal identity seems absolutely central.
It is. Around 26%, maybe a bit more, of Jharkhand's population is tribal. That's one of the highest percentages anywhere in India.
And we're talking about quite a few different groups.
Oh, yes. Major communities like the Santhal, the Munda, the Ho, or Aran, Kariya, even smaller, more isolated groups like the Birhor, each with its own, incredibly rich heritage.
And what does that heritage look like? I mean, in terms of culture?
Well, you see it everywhere. Vibrant traditions, intricate tribal art forms, very rhythmic music and dance, unique spiritual beliefs often tied very closely to nature, and big festivals like Sarhul.
Sarhul, what's that celebrate?
It's essentially a spring festival celebrating nature, the blossoming of trees, kind of like a New Year celebration for many tribes, deeply connected to the agricultural cycle and reverence for the forest.
And this strong identity, it also has a history of resistance, right?
Absolutely. A history marked by resilience. And you can't talk about that without mentioning Birsa Munda.
The legendary freedom fighter.
Exactly. He led a major tribal rebellion, the Ugalan, or Great Tumult, in the late 1800s against the British colonial administration and exploitative landlords, Dikas, outsiders, encroaching on tribal lands and rights.
A really powerful symbol of resistance.
Immensely powerful. And here's a really poignant detail connecting back to the state's formation.
Go on.
Remember I said Jharkhand was formed on November 15th, 2000?
Yeah.
That's Birsa Munda's birthday.
Wow. That's deliberate. That's significant.
Hugely significant. It embeds his legacy right into the state's identity. The main airport in Ranchi, the capital, is the Birsa Munda Airport. And get this. He's believed to be the only tribal freedom fighter in India who is actually worshipped as a god. Bhagwan Birsa Munda.
That's incredible. It really shows the depth of connection, identity, land, spirituality.
It really does. And another sort of interesting fact on the tribal front, after Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand has the largest tribal population in India. And deep in its forests, there are still communities considered uncontacted or semi-nomadic. It's a place where ancient ways of life genuinely persist.
Truly fascinating. But then the story kind of shifts gear when you look at what's under the ground, right?
Yes, exactly. This is where we hit what's often called the paradox of plenty.
Right.
Because Jharkhand is, extraordinarily rich in minerals.
Like what specifically?
Oh, huge reserves. Coal is massive. Iron ore, bauxite, which is key for aluminum, copper, even uranium. It's one of India's mineral heartlands.
So it must be powering a lot of the country's industry.
Absolutely. A huge chunk of India's coal, energy needs, steel production relies heavily on Jharkhand. You've got major industrial cities there, Jamshedpur, Dhanbad, Bokaro. These are serious industrial hubs.
And Jamshedpur has a special history, doesn't it?
It does. Founded by Jamsetji Tata, it's actually India's first planned industrial city. A really unique place, still largely managed by Tata Steel.
Okay, so immense mineral wealth, big industrial centers. But you called it a paradox.
Right, because here's the stark contradiction. Despite all this wealth, all this industrial might, Jharkhand struggles significantly with high levels of poverty, major issues of displacement, particularly of tribal communities due to mining in the dams, and general underdevelopment in many areas.
How does that happen? How can a place be so rich and yet so poor in effect?
Well, it's complex. It's not just about wealth not trickling down. It involves historical issues like land alienation that started way back, inadequate compensation for displaced people, lack of local benefit sharing from resource extraction, governance challenges.
And balancing those huge industrial needs with the rights of local, often indigenous communities.
Exactly. It's a fundamental disconnect where the very resources that should generate prosperity can end up deepening inequalities if policies aren't equitable and local communities aren't really empowered in the process.
So the resources are there, but equitable development hasn't necessarily followed. It's a challenging picture.
It is, and it connects directly to the environment too, because beyond the minerals under the ground, the land itself is incredibly beautiful.
The land of forests aspect.
Yes, dense forests, stunning waterfalls, 100-row falls, Dasam Falls are famous rolling hills, plateaus like Nader Hat, known for its sunrises and sunsets, and important wildlife sanctuaries like Betla National Park.
So rich biodiversity as well.
Definitely rich biodiversity. But, and it's a big but, this natural heritage is under serious threat, primarily from mining and deforestation. It's the direct flip side of the resource extraction economy we just talked about. It creates this really pressing environmental challenge, balancing economic needs with preserving this natural splendor.
It seems like every aspect of Jharkhand involves these complex balances. What about the broader culture beyond the specifically tribal traditions?
It's a really interesting mix. You have those ancient tribal spiritual traditions, often animistic or nature-based, coexisting and blending with mainstream Hinduism, which is also widely practiced.
So kind of fusion.
In many ways, yeah. You see it in festivals. We mentioned Sarul, but there's also Karma, Makar Sankrantis, celebrated by many communities, often with specific tribal meanings woven in, focusing on community, harvest, nature.
And the arts.
Still very much alive. You have distinct regional music forms like Nagpuri music, various tribal dances with incredible drumming traditions that are just mesmerizing, and a really strong legacy of oral storytelling passing down histories and myths.
Language, too, I imagine. It must be diverse.
Oh, incredibly diverse. Hindi is widely spoken, yes, but you also have major regional languages like Nagpuri, and then the tribal languages themselves, Kuruk, Mundari, Santali, Ho, and many others. There's a real linguistic mosaic reflecting all the different communities who call Jharkhand home.
So bringing this all together, looking towards the future, what are the main challenges Jharkhand is navigating now?
Well, the core issue remains that uneven development we discussed, despite the resources. That's central.
And that's stemming from that.
Specific struggles include continued problems with mining-related displacement and ensuring fair rehabilitation, ongoing issues around the proper implementation of tribal rights, particularly land rights under laws like the Forest Rights Act.
And there's also the security aspect in some areas.
Yes, the presence of Naxalite or Maoist insurgency in certain, often remote, forested districts remains a significant challenge. It's a complex conflict with deep roots, often linked to those very grievances over land, resources, and lack of development. We should just state that impartially, as it's a documented reality.
Understood. But is it all struggle, or are there positive signs, initiatives aimed at tackling these issues?
Oh, definitely. It's not a static picture. There's an increasing focus, both from government and civil society, on improving education, which is crucial. There's potential being explored in ecotourism, trying to create sustainable economic alternatives that value the natural landscape.
And crucially, empowering the communities themselves.
Yes, that's key. Initiatives aimed at tribal empowerment, strengthening local governance, ensuring communities have a real say in development projects that affect them. These are vital areas of work for a more equitable future and, preserving that unique heritage.
Okay, so if we were to sum it all up, Jharkhand emerges as this land of, deep history, incredible natural beauty, huge resources, a vibrant and central tribal culture.
All grappling with these really complex challenges of modern development. It's a place holding immense promise, but also facing these profound questions about balance.
Balancing progress with preservation, resource use with people's rights.
Exactly. And maybe the thought to leave people with, something to mull over is what the story of a place like Jharkhand tells us more broadly.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. a region so incredibly rich in resources, so rich in ancient cultural heritage, yet still striving, constantly striving, for equitable development for all its people.
What does that reveal about our world?
Perhaps it asks us to really consider that delicate balance we keep mentioning between economic progress, environmental preservation, and social justice. How do we achieve all three, especially in a rapidly changing world?
It suggests that true progress has to be inclusive.
It has to be. It has to uplift everyone, especially perhaps those communities whose ancestral lands hold so much of the wealth. Jharkhand's story is still unfolding, and it's definitely one worth watching closely.